Love in the family doesn't even need to be reciprocal. Right? If you love your child and your child doesn't love you back, you don't stop loving them. I love how C.S. Lewis describes this. He's like, love is never wasted. True love is never wasted. If it's not true love, then you feel like it's wasted. Like, I love that person and they didn't let me back. What a waste. But true love is never wasted. The kind of love you have for your kid is not wasted because its value does not rest upon reciprocity. It's constant. It just never changes. Paul said that's what the body of Christ should be like. So let's ask an honest question. Is that what your commitment to this church is like? Is that how we would describe it? I was talking with some of our pastors this week about how do people relate to the church, and one of them said, well, it's kind of like an intramural soccer team. It's a weekend activity. You enjoy it. You're invested in it a little bit. You give it some of your energy, but you know it's only one night a week, so it's pretty low on your list of priorities. Sometimes it's even like your commitment to the new season of The Voice, right? At the beginning of the season, oh, you're excited about it. That's what happens, by the way, at this church. And September and January, we always have an attendance spike because it's a new season. Everybody comes back. But you know what? You don't really like the singers this season. Judges are making decisions you don't like. The moment you feel that first pang of boredom, you flip the channel, right? And so people just don't come back because they look at it like a list of services. Or maybe it's like a free trial. Here's the worst one, of some streaming service. You know when you do this? You sign up for the 2-week trial, but you don't actually want to go all in with the 2-week trial, so you just change email addresses. I know you've done it. At some point, ACC Network is going to figure out why are there 48 jdgreer48@gmail.coms. Why is that a thing, right? Because you're like, well, I like the services that I'm getting, but I don't want to actually be committed. I don't want to join this. I don't want to go financially invested. But see, the reality of the church is that it's supposed to be like a family. This church is not an event you attend on the weekend. It's not a religious channel you tune into. It's a family that you belong to. A family where you get committed, where you lock the door, so to speak, on relationships, and you're like, I'm here, I'm not leaving. Right? I mean, you know, when my wife and I got married, some of the best marriage advice we got from one of our mentors is he looks at us and he's like, you're gonna have to lock the back door, proverbially speaking. You're gonna lock that door, metaphorically speaking, because at some point you're gonna feel like walking out. You're gonna feel like it's just too hard. We got irreconcilable differences. People tell me, like, we got divorced because we got irreconcilable differences. I'm like, my wife and I got a laundry list of irreconcilable differences. But we locked that door. And I'm like, all right, this irreconcilable difference needs to get reconciled. Right? Because like I've told you, I mean, you know, this is what, 19 years ago I got married. After 17 awesome years of marriage and 2 other ones, right? There have been a lot of times I felt like walking out that door, and so has she. But we know that, no, we're in this thing. We've locked the door, and so we find a way to make these things work. And we press through these things and we go into them. And that's what love in the family, that's what love in the church is supposed to look like. This should look like family. You show up for family dinner not because you like what's on the menu, but because it's family. By the way, what that means is that leaving a church and going to a new one ought to be a serious, serious decision. Right? Because you're not just changing channels, you're leaving one family and joining another one. I'm not saying there's never a time to do it. I'm not saying that at all. I'm only saying that you don't flit around between churches like you're changing channels based on what you're in the mood for. Wherever God leads you to be in a local church, whether that's His church or some other church, it should be like family.